Hello my beautiful boos, welcome back to my channel. It's JBoo210 aka Jay. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little different. I know my main uploads have been RuPaul's Drag Race videos, but only just because I love that series so much. However, I've been wanting to upload other content, and what other content to upload than storytime videos? So this topic that I want to talk about today is very personal to me. I have been, I shouldn't say going through it or experiencing it my whole life. However, I want to dabble into my paranormal experiences. I know I threw that in my 30 Things About Me video. So I wanted to tell you about like the very beginning and maybe two occurrences that I remember from my childhood. I just didn't want to jump into it and be like, oh my god, this has happened, or oh my goodness, this happened to me this night or something. I wanted to explain myself at the beginning and then build off of that. So yeah, it's something that's just unexplainable. My family has always, how can I say this? My family always has stories from what they've experienced. More so on my dad. My mom has experienced some things, but my father has experienced a lot. I have a brother. When he was born, they started experiencing things. Before I was born, they lived in a house, not too sure where. They would get visited by different entities, different ghosts. My father would always tell me how there was a ghost of an old lady that would come and like knock on the door or like knock on the windows or something. They would look to see who was there and there was nothing. Or they would hear like footsteps. It was just unexplainable. So then, I don't know, 6 years later, came along moi.
Hey, is it 6 or 5?
But no, yeah, when I was born, one story that I remember my parents telling me is I was barely learning how to talk. I would just walk around and talk to myself. Like I would always be talking to something. And my mom was like, oh honey, who are you talking to? I would always just say, boy. And she's like, oh, okay. Didn't think anything of it. She really started to get more like,
what's going on here?
When I started to kind of freak out, and I would always say, boy. Like from a mother's perspective, she wouldn't let it freak her out, because if she would freak out, she would scare my brother. That's the last thing that she wanted to do. So she just like, out of sight, out of mind, oh, you know, there's nothing there. But anyway, there was this tricycle that I was always on. Day and night, I was always on it. This one particular day, I was just not paying it any mind. Like I didn't want to be near it or anything. And my mom was like, sweetie, you don't want to play with your bike? And my mom told me that I just went, And she's like, sweetie, why? What's wrong? And I told her, boy. And I kept on pointing to it and I'm like, boy. And she's like, oh honey, just get on it, it's okay. And I'm like, oh boy, like no, like I was starting to get distraught. She's like, it's okay, you don't have to play with it. So later on in the evening, my parents are putting me to sleep. I share their room, of course, with my brother. I was just like a little twat at that time. I'm not too sure how old my brother was. So my mom told me that she woke up in the middle of the night to me just screaming my head off. And my mom and my dad ran to the bedroom that we were in, and they checked to see what everything was going on, what's wrong, like pertaining to me. And my brother was just like, you know how you get whenever you're freaked out, you don't know what to say. So they're making sure that I was fine. My mom's like, sweetie, what's wrong? She had me in her arms and I was just crying. And then in a split second, I was like, boy. Both my parents looked behind them. My tricycle was moving in a circle and it stopped. And that like freaked them out so bad. And I think that day they blessed the house. Also, one occurrence that I do remember from my childhood, and it always kind of gives me goosebumps when I talk about it. My grandmother gave me a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer like animatronic toy. It would walk around and like sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and blink red from the nose. I loved that thing. I loved it, especially it came from my grandma. You know, I'm a big grandma's boy, you guys. So I remember I took those really big batteries. I would always get like the dollar store batteries just because like those were cheaper and things. It would always die. It was always dead. Whenever I wanted to play with it, it was dead. And I would always check to see if there were batteries in it. Open the stomach, there was batteries, it was just dead. So I was like, ugh. And I didn't want to ask my parents for more batteries because I'm like, I don't know. They would always fight me on it. So whatever, I would never ask, but I would still play with it. It wouldn't sing, it wouldn't move, but I would move it and I would just like sing the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song. So anyway, there was this one night when I was playing with it and I was in the living room with my dad and my brother. I think my mom was there too, or she was in the kitchen, but I was playing with it and I'm like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, blah, blah, blah. At this point, I knew that there wasn't batteries in this thing. To keep it from like seeping out or whatever, my parents would always take out the dead batteries. It also felt light. So I'm just there singing. My parents are watching wrestling. My brother's watching it too. All of a sudden, I remember I had it and it started singing and moving by itself. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then it's like blinking from the light. And then it just like stops singing the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song, but the legs are still moving and the light's blinking. I was like, oh wow, like this is so cool. Like what's going on? Like my toy's coming to life. And my dad was like, what the heck? And my mom, my mom's in the kitchen. I'm not too sure what she was doing, but she came, she's like, what's going on? And my dad's like, the toy, mira el toy. And she's like, what about it? What about it, Camilo? It's just a toy. And my dad would say in Spanish, there's no batteries in it. I'm like, what do you mean there's no batteries in it? And she's like, remember we took them out. So then she got the toy. And I remember her getting the toy and opening the bottom of it to check that there was no batteries, and there was no batteries. And my mom was just like, taken back, like, okay. When she got it, it stopped moving. And she's like, she didn't know what to think. So then she put it back down on the ground with the compartment open. Like I remember seeing the compartment to the battery case just dragging on the floor and the rest of the toy is just standing and it wasn't doing anything. But then when I went over to get it, because I wanted to play with my toy still, and it started to move again. There was no song playing, it was just like moving. And then the red light would come on and my mom was like, oh my God, get that thing away. Like that is freaky. And my dad got the toy and I think he put it outside. And of course, when I'm younger, I'm like,
My toy, why did you do that?
but I didn't understand. Even my brother was freaked out. So yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me think, because there's so many stories that I can tell you about where I used to live. Initially, I started growing up in these red apartments. We were at the top, then we moved into my grandma's house. When she moved to California, we moved in to take care of the house. And I was there for like a majority of my life. Like, I can't remember from what age, all the way to like maybe 26 years old. So then a lot of these paranormal occurrences would take place in that house. You would think, oh, it's just maybe an isolated event. It's just happening in the apartment. But then it happened in the house that I grew up in mainly. And then I would see things when I would go to my grandma's house in California. And then I would see things at my friend's. So this person that I used to talk to, I would stay the night at her house a lot. And I remember seeing things there too. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? It freaks me out, but then it interests me. When I was younger, I used to scare the living daylights out of me. Everything used to scare me. Scary movies, you know, if a song sounded wrong, I would freak out. Still, I was a scaredy cat. But then as I've grown up, I learned to like embrace it in a way. One thing that really caught my eye recently, there's a series that we watched on Shudder, and it was going over cursed films. And the gentleman in the video says, there's nothing more empowering than owning what you were afraid of. And I'm like, true. Very true. So I'm like, what better way to own it than to tell you guys about it? There's numerous stories that I can tell you guys, so many things that I've seen from my childhood, teenagers, adulthood, things that I'm experiencing in the place that I am currently living in. And that's another reason that I wanted to tell you about it, because I thought to myself, oh, you know what, new beginnings, I'm moving to an entirely different state and whatever. And I get here and I'm like, things were great. And then I started noticing things would spark up again. And I think I told y'all too, I have a cat named Gizmo. I brought him along with me. Had to, I didn't want to leave him behind. And recently he either saw something or was playing with something We were watching a show. Gizmo was just being very vocal and spazzing out and growling. I'm like, oh, he's just playing around with one of his toys. But then as I'm looking at him, I'm noticing that he's not looking down, he's looking up. And he runs to the kitchen and we hear him like growling and we're like, oh, okay. That's just not like him. That's literally just not like him at all. And he's like still looking up, jumping on the counters and kind of like trying to hold himself up and things to see something. And then he comes back to us and like he's like not hissing but like kind of just like he was a little disgruntled. And I'm like, oh snap. And I kind of scared my partner because I always hear if you allow yourself to see something, you'll see something. So like don't mess with my cat kind of mentality. I was like just staring where he was going to, and in my mind I'm like, leave him alone, leave him the F alone, he's just a cat. And I'm just staring at like the darkness wherever he kept on going, and I was freaking out my partner. He's like, well, do you see something? Like, do you see anything? And I'm like, huh, wait, what? He's like, you were staring. And I'm like, oh, like I wasn't aware. But yeah, I don't know. I just really wanted to tell you guys about this. Plus it gives me the opportunity to upload more content, so like why not? But I wanted there to be something more than just like RuPaul videos. So I want to upload stories as I remember. I remember a lot of stuff, you guys. It takes a lot for me to block out things from my mind. I had to do this while my partner was home because I didn't want to be home alone and then experience something and like freak out about it. Yeah. You know, I'm happy I'm talking about this with y'all. It takes off a lot off my chest. But anyway, you guys, that was today's video. If you like this video, please thumbs up. It lets me know that you like hearing things of this nature. Also, please subscribe, hit the bell icon down below. Comment down below as well. Talk to me, tweet me at jboo210, and like just leave a comment. Let me know, have you experienced anything paranormal, unexplainable? And yeah. Until the next time, stay safe, my boos.